temp agencies in America compared to unions in America are something that we need to not only discuss, but we need to demand immediate reform for. I am reluctant to talk about this issue because there's not many people that support what I'm about to say. But if you do the research, I'm confident that you'll find that everything that I'm about to say is factual. When we look at union workers, the vast majority of union workers, there's one notable difference that we see from temp agency workers. That notable difference is the income scale. Now, the income scale of a union worker may be somewhere in the range of, I don't know of many union employees that make under $20 an hour, but the union worker may be somewhere in the range of $20, $25 an hour to $60, $75 an hour or more. That's per hour. Whereas the average temp agency job will get you about $8 to $10 an hour. And more than likely, not 10. So what are we talking about? Are we saying that the skill level of the labor is different? So therefore, the people that work the jobs that union workers are employed to do should actually receive a lot more money because sometimes it involves training. Or are we saying that temp agencies should be allowed to pay considerably less because they're all unskilled workers, and so they should all be paid a flat rate? This is where we have a problem. The skill level of a lot of temp agency workers varies, of course. But there are a lot of people that go in there with their carpenter certifications, an electrician's license, professional painters, and people that have been in the industrial industry for many years, if not decades. So their level of experience exceeds the level of pay substantially. Now, this doesn't just affect the black and brown communities. This affects the black, brown, yellow, and poor white communities. It's an institution that takes the money out of the neighborhoods. It takes the money out of the community as a whole, and it puts it into the pockets in the hands of those who wish to open these leeching businesses around our communities. These people come to our communities called temp agencies, offering temporary employment. And the catch is, if you work the job for the wage that we give you, that we agree to, and you stay there for either a 6 or 12-month period, they may hire you on. In most cases, more cases than not, this is a lie. This is a lie that is a self-perpetuated lie because of the very small, minor success rate of this actually happening. People have a large belief that, yes, if I work this job, they'll hire me, they'll like me, and they'll keep me. More times, often than not, they will not keep you because it won't become cost effective. When you keep an employee, there's a lot of new regulations that you have to go by. So now you have, instead of a contract employee through a temp agency, now you have an employee that can possibly become a liability, meaning you can get sued. There could be health issues. And if you're an employer with a contract with the temp agency, you don't have to worry about all of these issues because that person can go back to where they came from, the temp agency, and the temp agency can send over someone else, an immediate replacement for the same rate, and possibly even more experience. So it's a shuffle game. And unfortunately, blacks, browns, yellows, poor whites are the cards that are being shuffled. If we allow temp agencies to come into our communities and dictate the wages that should be paid to the people that are more than likely skilled laborers, then we have no say-so when China takes our jobs. Why should we? The place 3 blocks away is taking the income from the whole community, and no one is standing up and saying, wait. These jobs could go through the one-stop center, through the community's career center. We don't need a temp agency. So these companies have been built to shield businesses worldwide from the same people that work for them. I myself have worked for Labor Ready in both Florida and New Jersey. I've put in extensive hours through Labor Ready after getting out of the military and not being able to find a job. Most of my jobs that I've done through Labor Ready, an equal laborer would have been paid $15 an hour or better. In some cases, $25 an hour or better. What a temp agency does is they have you come in, you fill out some paperwork, you sign the contracts, and you go to work for the wage that you agree for the job. So, where does the temp agency make money? Well, when they have you sign that contract, you're agreeing to a wage that they will pay you. The wage that they actually receive from the person that will be employing you is much greater. Sometimes 2, 3, 4 times greater. So, every hour that you work for $7, $8, $9 an hour, every single hour that you are standing on your feet for less than $10 an hour, someone else is making the same amount as you off of your back, and they did it because you signed your name on a piece of paper and you said it was okay. This is the dilemma that we're facing. Without understanding the business practices that suppress the black community and all of our brothers and sisters of the black community, we fail to bring remedy to any problems. Temp agencies in America need to be reformed. If a temp agency has 100 people working at a rate of $8 an hour or $9 an hour, but yet they're being paid $20 an hour or better for the positions that they're giving out, you essentially have a company that's making $1,000 an hour. $1,000 an hour to push paperwork, something that a whole office can probably do with $1,000 a week. So, for every temp agency that's out there that has 100 employees or better, that are making $1,000 or better an hour, and not just 8 hours a day, maybe they have people out on 2 shifts. Maybe there's more than 100 people, so possibly 16 hours a day, possibly 24 hours a day. For the people that are making this money and taking it out of your community, how do you feel about them? How do you feel about knowing that you can look at your child and say, well, I can't make it this week. I can't do it this week. I can't pay this bill this week. I can't come to your recital this week because I have to work more hours because I don't make enough. Or, I can't pay for your prom even though you had knockout grades all the way through school. I can't afford to pay for your prom because I don't make enough. Inflation is high. Jobs are scarce. And oh yeah, I work for a temp agency because I lost my job. The continual rape of the victims of temporary employment agencies is something that we need to address as a community. It's something that we need to push as many of them out of our communities as possible. These companies obviously need us to work. We need to let these companies know that we don't need these temp agencies to fill these positions. We need to take a stand. We need to create a union that will protect and stand up for the rights of those who work at temp agencies. A powerful union. A union that can sit side by side with the unions that already exist today. The rights of the workers of unions are not the only important rights of workers in America. Those rights should be transferred to all citizens. Maybe the temp agencies won't make it easily accessible for you to make $20, $25 an hour like a union would, but the level of decency in the pay structure that they offer can be dramatically changed. We cannot allow this greed, this model of greed and this deception to keep plaguing our people. Temporary employment agencies will leave you in a temporary status for the remainder of your life. Are there some minor success stories? Yes. But if we look at the whole playing field, no. Who's really winning? The companies. The companies that put contracts in place with these temporary agencies. We need to get out of this structure, and we need to build our own structure. And for those that are in the structure of temporary employment, we need to create a union for protection, to demand for better pay. Are all temp agencies created the same? No and yes. No in the sense of some will pay you more, an actual living wage. If they're charging $30 an hour for a service, well, best believe you'll probably at least see 15 of that for a more decent temp agency, 15 of that, and possibly with medical benefits. That's a good starting wage. You can live off of that. You can feel good about it in an area where the cost of living is not too high, and you have a basis, and you have a realistic start, a realistic chance. There are a few that are like that. I'll personally tell you, I do know of one. I will not, promote that agency through this conversation, but I do know of one that they offer a starting wage of $15 an hour for a decent amount of their positions. Overtime, and benefits, health benefits. Not just health benefits, but also dental benefits from the first day. The first day. So, when you talk about a temporary agency like that, temporary employment agency like that, that's good for the community. That's good. But there's no regulation on the temp agencies that don't decide to do good. Who will stop these rogue agencies that are leeching off of the wealth of our communities? There has to be reform. There has to be change. We have to change the 50-50 standard of pay from temp agencies. They should not be allowed to pay you 50% of what the contract is. They are not putting in 50% of the work, and the paperwork doesn't take 50% of the time to do while you're working. The paperwork could be a fee taken out of your checks. That's how it could actually be. You could monetize the process of temporary employment. Instead, they monetize every hour that you work. So if you're working a 10-hour day and you make $80 in that day, well, they made $80 that day too. And if you do that for a whole week, they made $400 that week too. If you do it for a month, they made $1,600 a month too. If you do it for 100 people, yes, they made $160,000 that month. $160,000 that could go back into the community. We need to bring reform to the temporary agencies, employment agencies that are placed in our communities, just like the Planned Parenthood facilities that the eugenicists have placed in our communities and convinced our people are okay. We have to understand there's a broader plan to minimize the African American male and female, to minimize them in education, and to minimize them in life in general, even down to the point of how many are born. It's time to wake up. It's time to know the truth. Thank you for listening to Sincere Speaks. Check out my website, www.whoissincere.com. Thank you.